Episode 163. I believe achieving success in the outdoor biz is dependent upon embracing the outdoor lifestyle and learning from outdoor leaders that came before you. If you agree, then listen up for tips, advice, and hacks about growing or starting your career in the outdoor biz. My name is Rick Sayes. Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Paul Fish tells us how he began making backpacks and about his startup Mountain Gear before there were startups. But first, if you're thinking about starting your own podcast for your brand or passion project, I've created a free cheat sheet outlining 10 fundamental steps to create and launch your podcast. It has everything you need to know about planning, creating, and launching. Head over to ricksayes.com and download this free resource today. Paul Fish tells us some great stories about the early days of the outdoor biz when people would send you a few packs and let you pay when you sold them. Times have changed, eh? Hey, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rick. Really a pleasure.
Yeah, good to be catching up with you. I haven't talked to you in quite a while. I think I was working with a Mountain Lab last time I spoke with you.
Yeah, it's a heck of a way to catch up. Is
sad, isn't it?
On a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Dig deep.
Yeah, exactly. The shows are so busy these days, and I don't go to them all anymore. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, how'd you first get into the outdoors? What was your first exposure? How'd the outdoor bug bite you?
You know, as a young kid, my family did a little bit of hiking and fishing, staying at lake resorts in the Sierras, but I don't really consider that my start. My start was the high school I went to in Danville, California, had an outdoor program that required a 3-week outward bound like experience and a lot of activities leading up to it. And I started rock climbing there on Mount Diablo. And that's really where I fell in love with climbing and the outdoors.
Very cool. Did you, what was the shop that you bought your gear at there at the time?
My shop was Sunrise Mountaineering in Grandfield.
Yeah.
I still remember my first triangular Chenard rope from Kim.
Right on. That's cool. Yeah, those guys did a great job. I remember I sold Montbell to those guys, one of my first Montbell dealers back in the day. Pretty funny.
Yeah, good guy. He's still active. He's still very active. He's doing more sea kayaking than climbing.
Yeah, we all get a little softer, like we do more biking and sea kayaking and hiking than we do climbing and teleskiing and all that, right?
I see Kim's Facebook posts are surfing big waves on the ocean, so I don't think he's gotten softer.
Okay, good for him.
Going all over the world. It's pretty impressive.
I should just speak for myself then. I've gotten softer.
Yeah.
What was your first outdoor job? Did you have an outdoor job early on, or did that come later?
I did. Right out of when I graduated from that high school, I ran some trips for them, mostly climbing trips locally on Mount Diablo. That was a small thing. That summer I got a job at a shop in Palo Alto, California called Deal and Down.
Oh.
And I worked there for several years.
I've never heard of that shop. How long were they around?
Deal and Down was around, I'll bet it was 15 years total.
Oh, wow.
I'd have to check. Steve Singer started it. His family had Target surplus in Redwood City, and he wanted to get out and try something else. He did outdoor stuff. He was friends with Eustace Fashinger from Class 5, and that's, I think, what got him started.
Gotcha. That's one of the shops that, Gary Bard and I get together a lot, and we always end up talking about all the outdoor stores in the West somehow, and that one's never come up. I'm going to ask him about that. It's interesting.
Well, so it spawned my shop, and then Bruce Kirschhorn had in Bend, had Discount Mountain Supply in Bend for a while. So it spawned a couple shops from that.
Interesting. And you started Mountain Gear then in 1983. How did that come about?
Well, Mountain Gear actually started, I was a custom pack builder. So I started building my own gear in high school, and harnesses and packs, and nobody died.
That's good.
I still carry the internal frame pack I built.
Cool.
For myself in college is my favorite pack. But that was a small business. Our best year ever, we grossed $12,000 in sales.
Wow, congratulations. How did you get into sewing and design and all that?
It was a combination of seeing things I liked that I couldn't afford and thinking I had a few good ideas. So I started out with just hand stitched with a handle, a stitch. stitching up,
Yeah.
handle, which I just found the other day,
Oh,
the
cool.
original one.
Wow, cool.
My own climbing harness that I used tap roping for a little bit. That was you'd probably now say it was a rip-off off a Forest Mountaineering harness. And
that's the best kind of design, R&D, rip off and duplicate.
Rip off and duplicate. Well, I got away from that at some point.
Right.
And then I started, I built a couple kits. It was ultra kits at the time, but then I started designing day packs and internal frame packs, and that's where I really started having some fun.
Wow, very cool.
Probably, I don't know, built a few hundred packs.
I did not know
between the Bay Area and Bellingham, and still have the sewing machine and the gear. It's sitting at the climbing gym, and they use it to repair the floors. And
awesome.
I go in there every once in a while and stitch a few things up.
That's awesome. That's great. That's very cool. And how did you get up to Bellingham?
Let's see. Well, I left the Bay Area and went to college in Whitman College in Walla Walla.
Mm-hmm.
Lasted about a year there and moved to Bellingham with my significant other at the time, and went to school at Western Washington University for a couple of years. Never really grabbed on. Tried a little bit of geology, a little bit of environmental studies. And kept building packs.
Mm-hmm.
And then my partner at the time wanted to go to nursing school, and she picked Spokane for nursing school, and I followed, not thinking that Spokane would be our permanent home, but very shortly we realized that Spokane both had amazing outdoor opportunities. I mean, we have 4 or 5 different kinds of rock within half an hour of downtown. We have lakes, we have rivers, we've got scuba diving in the lakes, we've got kayaking, we have all sorts of activities here that are just, we love it. Skiing is close. Mm-hmm. Skiing is fairly cheap compared to the rest of the country. And there are several areas to choose from.
Nice.
And we also realized it was kind of ripe for some environmental change, which I was really passionate about, conservation, and involved with everything from land issues to recycling issues. And that was about the time the bottle bill was here, and Spokane just became home. And this community's been really good. I mean, everybody here is an outdoors person. Yeah. And what I find that's different here is there isn't a strict line between the hook and bullet crowd and the outdoor crowd. Everybody plays together pretty well.
That's great.
Every once in a while there's a conflict, but for the most part it's one large outdoor community.
That's great.
There's not the conflict I see other places.
Yeah, you've been there a long time.
I've been here 36 years.
Wow,
yeah,
good for you.
37 years. Yeah.
So what was the catalyst for starting a retail shop over just continuing to manufacture?
Well, the manufacturing, so to speak, was out of my house, and we got kind of tired of people coming to the house, and I thought I'd open up a little rent space and run the manufacturing business out of that. So cutting tables, sewing machines, things in the back. And I thought, what the heck? I may as well sell other stuff that complements my backpacks. I didn't make any clothing.
Okay.
So I actually, I drove down to California. I bought an old Ford Econoline van. I don't even remember what year. It must have been a early 70s, probably. Yeah, early 70 Econoline.
Wow.
And I stopped at every manufacturer I'd met through Deal and Down. So I stopped at Pacific Ascent, Blue Puma, Columbia at that time, talked to Gert, Land Ave in Portland, Twin Peaks in Oakland, Class 5, Snow Lion, all those.
Wow.
And my challenge was I had only $3,000 to my name. And so I'd walk in, and some of the people I knew and some Steve introduced me to, and line went, well, I don't have much money, but I'm going to start a store in Spokane, and your stuff isn't carried there. And I'd like you to give me what you're willing to afford to risk. Mm-hmm. And if I can't make it work in 6 months, if I can't pay you back and make it work in 6 months, get a real job and I'll eventually pay you back. And a batch of these guys, I mean, I don't think you could do it today,
Yeah,
but a batch of these
yep,
guys
no
would
way.
give me a little bit of stuff.
Yeah,
Super Sports in Seattle, Columbia, Land Ave, all these
right.
guys gave me some stuff.
That's
And
cool.
then I called A16, and quite fortunately, I got Dave Clemens on the line.
Dave Clemens, yeah, good one.
He said, "Well, sure, we'll ship you $700 worth of stuff on credit terms."
Nice.
He can't believe he did it, but
Right. That's great.
they did, and that's we opened the store with that, and we'd sell I'd sell one of something, and I'd call the vendor up and I'd say, "Sold it, checks in the mail, send me one or two more."
Nice. That's awesome. That's great. You could do that today. No way.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that'd be impossible. So, in addition to just getting inventory, what were some of the other challenges? I mean, how did people didn't know who it was, right? How did you get people in the door?
You
see them on the rock and stuff on the weekends, I'll bet.
I was active in all the outdoor organizations, so the Canoe Club and the Mountaineers and outdoor stuff, and I knew people from PAX. So PAX was what was driving it. It was really small to start.
Mm-hmm.
But it was word of mouth and going out there and working the events. It's working events and teaching the Mountaineers climbing class or Mountaineers mountain school. It's kind of funny now. There's a consignment shop opening up in town called Northwest Outdoors, and the guy's Mark Schneiderman, and I give him some of my used returns and things like that. But the cool thing is, everywhere I go, there's Mark, and I go, I was like that 37 years ago.
Yeah, that's me.
So that's me. So maybe there is a way to get a startup. Kind of do it guerrilla, seat of the pants.
Yeah, guerrilla style. I like it.
Yeah.
What were some of the other challenges you guys had?
Learning. My parents are both physicians. And so I didn't know much about starting a business. So it was all seat of the pants. And so learning how to do a business, learning how to do books. There's a great book called Small Time Operator, and it's on this 10th edition at this point.
Oh, but cool. We'll link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, I still give Small Time Operator to anybody who comes to me and is talking about starting up a small business. It's I keep a handful in my office, and I just, here you go.
Great, yeah, so, that's probably a good one.
That one time it was all about how to turn your California arts and crafts, hippie arts and craft business into a real business, and how to get legal. So
it's all come full circle with the whole maker thing going on now. Then
exactly, it has.
That's interesting.
And then the hardest part I think was learning how to be an employer. My first employee quit after 2/3 of a day. So the second. So it got better after that.
Yeah. Well, that is a different animal. That's true. Yeah. And what are you most proud of after all these years, 30 some odd years?
There are two things that I really am proud of what we've done, and one is the Red Rock Rendezvous. Which is this year we didn't do it. It will be back next year, but we did it since 2003, so 15 years worth.
Cool.
And it was my idea of what a climbing festival should be that had no competition, was not just about climbing hard, but introduced people to real rock with real guides and a big dose of culture. Awesome. Because to me, climbing's about, it's about people and the culture of climbing, not just the numbers, the numbers you tick in the gym.
Yeah.
And the other thing I did is when we moved, I needed a larger facility in 2007, and I bought an old building, and we did a rehab on this building that got LEED Gold. And I didn't attempt. The goal was not to get an award. The goal was to see if a common business, that wasn't super wealthy or anything else, could do a sustainable building project that met LEED standards.
Cool.
At marginal incremental cost. And I think on a $3 million job, including buying the building.
Mm-hmm.
3.3. We I don't think we spent an extra $50,000 to get a building that's more fun to work with.
Impressive. Good for you.
Uses significantly less energy and water, and I think that was really fun.
And that was back in 2007?
It was,
Wow.
everybody then was doing LEED as a demonstration project.
Yep.
It was all government stuff that they spent millions or tens of millions on.
Yeah.
We spent nothing and just made it work. And I learned a ton from that.
I'll bet, yeah.
Those were, but Red Rock's definitely.
I got to get out to Red Rock, yeah. I haven't been out there. You guys are so close now that I'm in Bishop, so I'll try to pop out there this year. That'd be good to hang out.
It's worth going. I just went and climbed there with my kid for 4 days.
Oh, cool.
And he's dirt bagging.
Oh, nice.
And,
awesome.
I just flew down, met him, hung out, and did a batch of ditches.
Perfect. Yeah.
I love that area.
Very cool. And you've been on the board of the Access Fund for a long time, too. How has that mission changed over the years? Or maybe it hasn't changed over the years.
The Access Fund, I think, has evolved with the culture of climbing. It was a handful of very serious climbers who were concerned about being able to preserve their crags for climbing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really specific. I think I came on board, Dan Nordstrom and my first meeting was an interview where Dan Nordstrom and I hired Brady Robinson, which the Access Fund's always been a great organization, but he really helped raise the level.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed from just being core, let's protect climbing for climbers, which was a little bit narrow and maybe, just not about, well, it was a little selfish.
It was pretty focused. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But pretty focused. Yeah, better than selfish. To how important climbing is, and we want to preserve climbing, but we're going to work with other organizations. We're going to be much more inclusive. And if we have to, we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to buy chunks of land or help climbing organizations buy chunks of land.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much broader. Instead of being, California or Colorado based, it now includes LCOs all over the country. It's more inclusive of styles of climbing, types of climbing. Any climber, doesn't matter who or what they are.
All right, cool.
Better answer would be what pronoun they prefer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really made the organization a much stronger part of the environmental movement, environmental conservation recreation, instead of just this very narrow focus.
Yeah, it's got to be stronger. Just more well-rounded. That's got to be a huge benefit. I mean, you can reach all aspects of the community and the business as well.
Yeah. I love what they're doing. I think the transition to Chris has been great. I stay closely in touch with the organization, and I just think it's doing amazing things.
Yeah, good for you to hang in there all those years. Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. What's the best decision you've ever made?
That's an easy one. Have kids.
Oh, okay, cool. How many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids.
Okay. And you're still active with them, it sounds like. You went climbing with your son recently. That's cool.
Yep. Yeah, they're both my sons, out climbing and kayaking, having a good time, taking care of himself, supporting himself doing it.
Right on.
And my daughter's a union organizer in the Bay Area and doing a great job at the hotel and Unite here, the Hotel and Restaurant Workers Union.
Oh, cool.
I'm incredibly proud of what they both do.
Good for you. You raised them right.
Or they raised me right.
A little of both, I'm sure. Sant, who inspires you, maybe now or over your career?
In my career, I really admire people that are values driven. You can do the right thing for the right reason or the wrong reason. I think in business, certainly Yvon Chouinard inspires me because it's totally values driven and does the right things for the right reasons. And I try and think through that every time there's a hard decision. Use our values to drive it and make a good choice. I think along that same lines, I know it's the same company, but now we have Chris Tompkins doing what she's doing, kind of changing the conservation world.
Phenomenal what they're doing down there.
Yeah. Authors like Greg Childs, what he's writing and getting out there, I think is really changing the world from a value perspective.
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's very well said. Yeah. Have you been down to South America at all to see what?
I haven't been down. I'd love to go down and see what Chris has done.
Yeah. I reached out to her on Facebook to try to get her on the show. So, Chris, if you're listening, we have a spot for you.
She's going to be in Spokane. Probably not for the podcast, but she's going to be in Spokane on the end of this month. Coming up to see one of her donors.
Okay. Well, drop a hint to her.
I'll drop a note. I'll tell her how easy and fun it was, and convince her to do it. She's really she's doing her show at 5. She's not doing a dinner afterwards. It's just
I can imagine. Yeah.
She's a really private person.
Yeah. She's being tugged in all directions, I'm sure, right now. So.
I think so. Right now, she is. So she just happens to have one of her donors is a good friend of mine, and I saw they were doing this, and they were doing it at a tiny little theater, and I said, no, we got to make it bigger and intimate, but not 30 people, and so I just agreed to underwrite it. And,
cool.
Help make it happen.
That'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're also involved in, or you're on the board of community-focused disaster recovery. Tell us about that. I've never heard of that.
There's a really small organization in Spokane, and I'm no longer active on the board. I'm of council, I would say, occasionally of council.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
advisor.
It's a gentleman I've learned just a ton from. He a guy named Darren Coldiron. It's funny, his brother is Scott Coldiron, who's a climbing buddy of mine.
Okay.
But I didn't know either of them at the time. And right after the tsunami in Sri Lanka, or in that area, he came to me through a friend and said, hey, I'm going to go to Sri Lanka. I'm going to find something that needs to be done, and I'm going to do it. So help me out. And I gave him a little bit of stuff and sent him on his way. And he called me beforehand, before he was leaving. He said, Paul, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm having a little party. Why don't you come over and help us pack? It's a packing party. And I got over, and there were all these drunk firefighters and sushi all over the place, and 50 duffel bags of unpacked stuff that was donated from everywhere. And I said, oh my God, what a mess this is. It's never going to work out. Oh, well, it wasn't that, big deal.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, he contacts me, and he needs some help with, he'd found this little village in Sri Lanka that was a Tamil village. And he just started, instead of saying, this is what we do, we're the Red Cross.
Mm-hmm.
And we come through with big trucks and set up camps where you can move away from your village and live until who knows what.
Which is probably exactly what they don't want to do.
He helped them rebuild their community by talking to them.
Perfect.
And asking what they needed and going, hey, we need to rebuild wells because water is contaminated. And we need to rebuild homes because there is no shelter. And then people want to kind of build a beach dune, so there's maybe a little more protection from large waves. And he just helped so he enabled the community to do what they needed to do to recover, instead of coming in with this rubber stamp. Here's what our organization does.
Here's what you need, right?
Highway.
Very cool.
And I'm still good friends with him and a batch of the people involved, and it just gave me an eye opener into the right way to do aid.
Yeah. So they still go around the world to all these.
He's done a couple more trips, and a couple of the people from it have stayed in that vein. It is actually now evolved. He just followed his passions to working with vets, especially people at risk for PTSD or those with PTSD, and running programs for vets. And it's the same thing. It's not here's my solution. It's what do we need to work together for a solution.
Gotcha.
So he brought a similar approach, something else, and I'd love to see what he does continue to grow and flourish through other people, because it's hard to do one-ofs. That's why these organizations form systems, but systems just don't seem to work.
Yeah.
So,
well, we'll link to that in the show notes too. That's very cool. Yeah,
So
good
I
for him.
will find you that. I'll find you the current link.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Oh, that's right. Because if I looked that up, it wouldn't be that. Yeah, send me that
You
current
might
link
know.
if you
I
got it.
think it's still. It may be VFD art. I have to go look.
Okay,
I
cool.
just talk to him and help with things. So,
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
Awesome. So I know you bike and cycle. What other outdoor activities do you still participate
You
in?
know, I
Or climb and
backpack.
cycle. I said bike and cycle. I meant
Yeah,
climb
I
and
bike.
cycle.
I mountain bike. I road bike. Pretty passionately. I climb every chance I get. I backpack. I love sea kayaking, but we're a long way from the ocean here.
Mm.
But especially because you can feed yourself off of wherever you are, and that's just kind of an
You guys have some great water up
bonus.
there. Yeah.
So we do. I love the coast up here. I scuba dive, which surprised me because I thought I'd hate it, and a friend got me started, and I loved it.
Oh, cool.
And this year, I think I'm going to take up pack rafting. I try and give a good solid try to a new sport every year.
Uh-huh.
So
that looks super fun, doesn't it?
It looks like, yeah. Chris Ennis, our Carrick's rep, has showed me some pictures, and I looked at that. I have a friend going to Alaska pack rafting a river. I go, wow,
Yeah.
8 pounds, right?
Right.
You can put it on your back and carry your gear. This is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That looks very cool. I want to get one of those up in some of these Sierra Lakes to go fishing. That looks just like a blast.
Oh, it'd be great. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to check that out. Do you have any suggestions or advice for anyone wanting to get into the outdoor biz or grow their career? They're already in the biz?
I'm a little cautious about it. I start every time somebody asks, and I talk to a fair bit of folks, either individually or in a classroom, occasionally. And I tell them be careful how they follow their passions. And that there's 2 ways to get into the outdoors. You can get a job in a field that you're passionate about, but you might be surprised at the consequences in terms of the time you spend outdoors. Or you can get a job that not that you hate, but a job you enjoy that allows you to do the things you're passionate about.
That's good. That's
some of the most passionate outdoors people I know are teachers who get time off.
Right.
Or, it's so be careful what you choose. Just saying I love the outdoors doesn't mean you should start, selling backpacks.
That's true. Yeah. At the end of the day, it is a job. You got to put in your time. Yeah. That's well put. I don't think anybody's ever said that. That's good. That's a good way to think of it. And I know a lot of teachers as well. I've had teachers on trips or teachers and firefighters seem to get a lot of time
teachers, traveling nurses, firefighters, right? Or a lot of healthcare fields, nurse anesthetists.
A lot of opportunity.
Good paying jobs, 9 to 5, not a whole lot of weekend stuff, and nice vacation benefits. So, do I sound envious?
No, that's good advice. That's good advice. We all made our choices, and I don't regret any choices I made, and it's been a lot of fun.
I don't either.
Do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? Exercise, meditate?
I try and either climb or bike virtually every day.
Wow, good for you.
Or hike. I mean, and so I try and get some outdoor thing. It probably happens 4 or 5 days a week. I don't quite get 7.
That's great.
For me, climbing is my meditation. So is biking. I'm just focused.
Yep.
I've tried all sorts of things. This is a challenge to someone. I've tried all sorts of things to be able to meditate and focus,
Same.
while sitting still. And
yeah.
I don't want to stick a label on it or anything else. My mind just, I can't slow it down.
Yeah, my mind and my body. It's a sitting still thing. It's like, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, people go, because people say, oh, that happens when you're climbing because you'll die if you lose focus. I go, no, I won't die. The focus is, I think, the same sort of focus you get meditating.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever reached that meditational state where it's worked, so I have no idea if it's the same or not. It feels like meditation to me, some of that, but I don't know.
A morning cup of coffee is a really good thing.
There you go. Yep. I'm with you there. Can't live life without that.
No.
Do you have any favorite books or books you give as gifts? Obviously, the Small Time Operator. We'll link to that.
Small Time Operator and Paul Hawkins' How to Grow Your Business are about the only two business books I've ever read. I've tried other ones and they just kind of get put away. I really like Edward Abbey books when I'm out in the woods, something to read, and Gary Snyder poetry. I really enjoy. I guess that goes back to growing up in the Bay Area or something. And I was going to bring up one other, and I lost my train of thought. That happens.
That's all right. That happens. That's all right. You can send me the link when you remember it.
Okay.
How about your favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
Favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100? The AeroPress coffee maker.
Ah, okay. Somebody just gave me one of those. Those are pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's like heaven in the woods.
Yeah, exactly. They make darn good coffee. I love that. As we wrap up here, is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience or ask of our audience?
I think the whole point of values. They say there is a crossover between recreation and conservation, and there've been recent articles about, is the stoke enough? And I'd say the stoke is. Share that stoke, but make sure you preserve those places you love, you play, and you get that stoke from, and get involved in the other half of the equation.
That's great advice. Yep, I love that. Yeah, the stoke takes a little bit more than just the stoke. Yep.
It takes a little, no doubt.
And if people want to follow up, how's the best way to reach out to you? LinkedIn, Instagram?
LinkedIn works.
Okay.
Email works. LinkedIn works great, and I can get you that link. My email works great. paul.fish@mountaingear.com.
Okay, I'll put both of those in the show notes too. Yeah, cool. Well, great. It's been good catching up with you.
Likewise.
Sorry, it's been
what are you doing for
so
fun
long.
this summer?
I don't know yet. I got a couple events. Obviously, I'm going to the trade show. I got a family reunion coming up, and I usually get a backpacking trip in at least once a summer for the long weekend. It's going to be so beautiful up there again this year with all the snow we've had. So, yeah.
Have you been up Mount Lyle? That area is south of Whitney.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. Shark's Tooth was the first mountaineering.
Oh, cool.
First rock climb I ever did in the mountains.
Very cool. I never was much of a climber. I was more of a river guy, and then once my knees got totally hammered, I quit skiing. But I still get out and backpack and hike as much as I can. So
that's great.
Yeah, got to do it.
Maybe see you at the trade show, and I'd
definitely.
Love to. This is great, and I'll make sure I drop it tell Chris how it went.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, thanks, Paul. It's been good. Good.
Thanks a lot,
up.
Rick.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Talk
Have
soon.
a good evening.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
If you want more of the Outdoor Biz podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to go to the outdoorbizpodcast.com where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.